I'll get you for this, Mother.
You haven't got the guts, boy.
I am Pallas Athene, and I know the thoughts of all men's hearts, and discern their manhood or their baseness. And from the souls of clay I turn away, and they are blessed, but not by me. They fatten at ease, like sheep in the pasture, and eat what they did not sow, like oxen in the stall. They grow and spread, like the gourd along the ground, but, like the gourd, they give no shade to the traveler, and when they are ripe death gathers them, and they go down unloved into hell, and their name vanishes out of the land. But to the souls of fire I give more fire, and to those who are manful I give a might more than man's. These are the heroes, the sons of the immortals, who are blessed, but not like the souls of clay. For I drive them forth by strange paths, Perseus, that they may fight the titans and the monsters, the enemies of gods and men. Through doubt and need, danger and battle, I drive them, and some of them are slain in the flower of youth, no man knows when or where, and some of them win noble names, and a fair and green old age. But what will be their latter end I know not, and none, save Zeus, the father of gods and men. Tell me now, Perseus, which of these two sorts of men seem to you more blessed?
The Obeah Woman by Anastasia the Phoenix Armourer. Chapter 20. They found themselves in a large chamber with huge pillars. They walked for some time. Just when they thought the chamber would never end, a door opened in the east and they heard marching feet. They ran and hid behind the pillars in the dark. Soon there were about 50 soldiers marching by. They carried shields and swords and were dressed in all black with black helmets on their heads. They marched from east to west, and they soon disappeared behind two large doors. The chamber ended finally with two large doors. "Do you think they are locked?" Isis asked. "Paul, what is on the other side?" "Something deep." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" "That's all that I'm getting, sir." "Aquila?" "Rocks. Large rocks. Floating." "What?" Suddenly the doors slid open. They walked forward slowly. They did not know what to expect. "Stop!" Paul shouted. "It's a bottomless pit." They all stared into the pit. "Is there no way across?" asked Isis. "Look there. There are the rocks." They looked to the east and there were 6 rocks floating over the bottomless pit. "Look, there is light on the other side." "Come on, let's go," said Leo. They walked along the ledge until they reached the rocks. "We will have to jump from rock to rock. I will go first." Leo stepped onto the first rock and it sank down just a little. Dora's heart was beating fast. She was frightened for her husband. They all watched as Leo jumped from one rock to the next while trying hard to keep his balance. "Could someone please tell me, why are we doing this again?" Ben did not get an answer. Leo made it all the way across. "Who's next?" asked Paul. "I am," said Dora, and she stepped onto the first rock. "Don't look down, baby, just watch your step." Dora steadied herself as she jumped from rock to rock. After what seemed like an eternity, she jumped onto the last rock. Leo reached for her as she jumped onto the ledge. Then, one by one, they all jumped across. Some more confident than others, but all of them made it. In front of them were steps leading to a long passageway. "Okay, Paul, what's ahead of us?" "Ah." Paul gasped. "What is it?" "Shadow creepers. 2 of them." Dora felt a chill go up her spine. "There must be a way around them," she said. "There is only one way to go, and that way is through those open doors." Dora put a black arrow in her bow, and they crept silently down the stairs and across the corridor. Dora walked in front, her bow at the ready. She crept closer and closer to the open doors. Soon she could see them. They were guarding the doors to the inner temple. Dora knew she could only hit one, and when she did, the other one would attack. She steadied herself, pulled back on the string, and then let the arrow fly. The arrow hit its mark. The shadow creeper howled as he imploded. The second one saw her. He let out a scream and lunged forward towards her. Everyone threw themselves on the ground as the creature flew over them. Dora quickly placed another arrow in her bow. The shadow creeper turned and flew back towards them. Ben was in the back of them, so the creeper got to him first. The creeper slashed his throat in a matter of seconds. Frederick threw a stream of fire at the creature and it shrieked away. That's when Dora let her second arrow fly. It hit its mark and the creeper imploded and was reduced to ashes. Dora ran over to Ben. He was dead. Leo was so upset he could not speak. "What are we going to do with him?" Lawrence asked. "We must leave him here. We can't take him with us." Lawrence was pissed. "This is Pahega's fault. Let's go get him." He stormed out into the next chamber. Lawrence. "No. Wait." Paul screamed. But, before anyone could move, he was attacked by 2 demon dogs. They were big and red, and instead of fur, they were covered in scales with flaming red eyes and razor-sharp teeth. They killed Lawrence, and then turned their attention to the remaining of the group. Dora threw 3 bean cocktails at them. The rest of the group followed suit, throwing everything at them. Fire, frost, lightning, and whirlwinds. They continued the onslaught until the terrible demon dogs lay dead. Dora felt as though she could not take a single more calamity. Everyone stood looking at the large doors. Before Leo could ask what was behind them, the doors slid open. Dora braced herself for the worst. Then suddenly, "Welcome, Dora Van Hart." A loud voice came from the other chamber. "I have been waiting for you. You are my guest of honor. Please come in." Dora was stunned, and for a brief moment did not make a move. Leo held her hand as they walked slowly into the chamber. It was the temple at last, decked out in black and gold. And candles, lots of black candles. The entrance to the temple was very high, and although there wasn't any stairs, Dora was walking down an incline. It was a circular structure with about 200 people seated on both sides of the aisles. The painted ceiling was extremely high, and 10 small figures were floating above the sunken floor of the temple. They were wearing red silk robes with African masks on their faces. There was a large altar with a huge golden angel with spread black wings looking down on everything. In front of the altar, there was a great marble slab, the kind you would make a sacrifice on. In the middle circle were 12 priests dressed in black silk robes, and headdresses made of black feathers. There was a large cage hanging from the ceiling on the right side of the altar. Angela was in the cage. Dora could sense that she was very frightened. On the right against the wall there were 3 large drums and their drummers. In the center of the large circle, standing on a black floor covered in ancient writing, stood Kahega. dressed like a Zulu king, complete with leopard skin. His staff was topped with a ram's head with a large ruby in its forehead. He was a tall man with shiny black skin and fierce black eyes. Dora finally reached the bottom of the incline. "Come now, Dora. You have nothing to say? You've come a long way to see me, you seem disappointed. Well, you may not be happy to see me, but I am so happy to see you. Bring her," he shouted to the priests. "Let's see if your god is bigger than mine." 2 priests left the circle and began to walk towards Dora. She threw 2 doom cocktails at them. They were thrown backwards. Dora then stretched out her hand to the right and shouted, "Lazarus, come forth." Then to the left, "Lazarus, come forth." Then in front of her, "Lazarus, come forth." Suddenly, the temple was full of the dead, fighting all the people in the temple. The people screamed as they were slashed with swords and machetes. Then Kahaga lifted his staff and shouted, "Hambani Kale." And in an instant, the souls were gone. "Is that the extent of the power of your god, Dora?" She remained silent. Then Tom moved forward and hit Kahaga with a bolt of lightning. Kahaga lifted Tom into the air with electricity and held him there for about 5 seconds. Then he dropped him. Tom was dead. "You want to fight me? You are nothing. I will kill you all." Leo then hit Kahaga with acid water. Frederick burned him with fire, and Aquila hit him with a whirlwind. They did not damage Kahaga. He only laughed and formed an impulse wind that hit everyone and threw them to the ground. Dora rolled on the ground trying to get up. She felt like she had been punched in the stomach. Leo raised his staff and threw ice at Kahaga. The ice froze him and he remained motionless for a few seconds. Isis saw her chance. She ran over to the left side, determined to bring down the children from floating up in the ceiling down to the ground. Kahaga unfroze and sent a bolt of lightning to hit Paul, but Paul shielded himself from the blast. Isis brought down the first child from the ceiling and laid him on the ground besides her. She removed his mark and saw that the child was in some sort of trance. Kahaga raised his staff and used another impulse wind. It threw the party to the ground yet again. This time Dora was mentally prepared for it and she immediately rose to her feet. Isis brought down the second child and laid him on the ground. Marcus took his rifle from his back and shot Kahaga 5 times, however, the bullets seemed to pass straight through him. Kahaga simply waved his hand and dashed away the rifle out of Marcus's hands. Then he hit Marcus with a bolt of lightning and knocked him to the ground. Isis took down the third child and laid him on the ground. Dora threw a doom cocktail and hit Kahaga in the chest. He staggered backwards a bit, yet he was unfazed. "You bitch. You will watch your daughter killed as a sacrifice tonight." Aquila sent out another whirlwind and Dora threw another doom cocktail. The combination of both threw Kahaga backwards off his feet, but in seconds he was back up again. Kahaga threw fire from his staff, but Paul shielded everyone from it. Isis took down the 4th and 5th children. Leo sent out acid water which burned some of the feathers off of Kahaga's headdress. Dora took aim with her bow, and let a black arrow fly. Kahaga caught the arrow with his left hand. He then stretched out his hand and using an invisible force grabbed Marcus by the throat in the air and choked him to death. Isis took down the 6th and 7th children. Aquila sent out another whirlwind. Dora threw another doom cocktail, however, this time it failed to knock Kahaga over. Instead, Kahaga waved his staff in the air and created a small tidal wave that rolled over them. Dora almost drowned in the attack. They all laid on the floor coughing up water. Leo picked Dora up from off of the floor. Frederick threw flames at Kahaga that burned his headdress and Dora threw another doom cocktail at him. Kahaga staggered back, and then he removed the remnants of his headdress and threw it to the floor. He then knocked them down again with another impulse wind. Isis took down the 8th and 9th child. Leo froze Kahaga again, giving everyone a moment to catch a breath and refresh themselves. Isis took down the last child and laid him on the floor. Kahaga unfroze and stretched out his hand, lifting Frederick high in the air, then slammed him to the ground, killing him. Dora threw 2 doom cocktails and Leo sent out acid water. Dora could tell they were beginning to have an effect on him. Kahaga formed a large fire serpent and threw it at them, but Paul shielded them from it. Kahaga was very angry at Paul for blocking his spells, so he took a dagger from his belt and threw it with great force at Paul. It went straight into his heart and killed him instantly. "Shield that, why don't you?" Dora rushed over to Paul. He was dead. She drew out the dagger from his chest as Leo froze him again. Dora stood to her feet with the dagger. She saw that Kahaga was frozen. She took aim, holding the weapon by its blade, and threw it as Kahaga was unfreezing. The dagger landed deep in Kahaga's chest. He doubled over in pain, and then he staggered backwards. He leaned forward and pulled the dagger out of his chest. The crowd was so silent that Dora had forgotten they were there. They gasped in horror and stood to their feet. Then Kahaga disappeared from sight and everyone vanished with him, except for one man, who walked over to the wall and toward the large cage and took out Angela. The child ran to her mother. Dora embraced and kissed her daughter. She then realized it was the Iceman, whom Angela had befriended. The children were all coming to their senses and Isis helped them to their feet. Dora walked over to the Iceman. "Thank you so much. Now, is there another way out of here?" "Yes, there is a back way through that door." He pointed to a small door in the wall that was almost invisible. "It leads to an elevator that will take us all the way to the bottom of the mountain." "Okay everyone, it's time to go," said Dora. Isis gathered the children together and Leo said goodbye to his fallen men. All 6 of his men had been killed and Leo was very sorrowful. The Iceman led the way through the side door, across a large chamber to an elevator that went all the way down to the bottom of the mountain. The elevator opened to a long passageway. "We must stay here till daybreak, when the forest will be free to travel through." The Iceman showed them a place to sit where they waited until morning. After daybreak, the Iceman led them all the way out of the mountain to a side door, which he unlocked and led them outside. "This path leads out of the forest to the main road. I will lead the way." Isis was concerned for the children. It was a long way out of the forest, but the children were strong and they made it out to the bus and jeeps. Dora drove the bus back to the city up to the police station. She turned the children over to the police to be returned to their parents. Dora, Leo, Aquila and Isis and Angela returned to Dora's house. Before doing anything, the group gave thanks to Ogun, Papa Bones, and Sasabonsum for their safe return. That night Dora put Angela to bed. "I knew you would come for me, Mother, thank you." The child threw her arms around Dora and kissed her cheek. "If you are ever in trouble, know that I will always come to help you." Dora kissed the child on her forehead and tucked her in. Dora was about to get into bed when she felt an evil presence outside at her gate. She walked outside and down the path to the gate. At first she could see nothing, but after 2 minutes the evil spirit appeared in the street. Dora was startled to see him. She gasped with her eyes wide open when he appeared. "Well Dora, your gods really are good to you." Samuel the Black stood in the street on the other side of her gate. "What do you want?" "What do I want? I want you, Dora, and I am going to have you, it's only a matter of time." "You can't have me. You won't get any part of me. You are an evil overlord. You have no rights here and no rights over me. If you try to hurt me or mine, I will find a way to throw you into the bottomless pit." Plenty big words, Dora. You must be feeling really powerful now that you have defeated Kahaga, but you are so naive, and it will give me great pleasure to reveal that fact to you. Go back to hell, you filthy demon. I will see the end of you. See you soon, Dora." And with those words he was gone. Dora turned and went inside. She knew there will be much to deal with in the very near future.
Writ of habeas corpus concerning George Randolph Hoyt Jr. to the court concerning the involuntary empoisonment of the body and person of George R. Hoyt Jr. I am requesting the immediate release of Tay defendant and forced medical treatment from police and fire department and the unmust exploring and invasion of home and property. We direct to violations provided and protected by Bill of Rights in America. Home invasion. Kidnapping, no due process assault. Destruction of private property. Possible arson. Asset removal. This is the second time the police have attempted a home invasion of my apartment, and I want to be free from this harassment and be compensated for my pain and suffering. George R. Hoyt. Last Will and Testimony. By George Ramsage Hoyt Jr., George Randolph Hoyt Jr., George Rampage Armourer, Dominance Fortune the Infamous Game Untamed, Servi Notice, R.A. Destruction, Salim Osiris Shabazz, Dismas Emmanuel Armourer. To whom it may concern. By no stretch of the imagination am I suical or particulti homicalid. However, in the event of my untimely death for any reason, I have sound mind and body do leave all my worldly possessions, donated to the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus, Maxine Mims / Carol Mitchell, IBJ. In the event, there is to be no resuscitatin, not equals no organ donorship. Just burn the body. I love you all, Tacoma, WA. Yours truly, GRA, Black Sheep of Tacoma, Dismas Ea Tel Victoria. Dear Vina, Spanish Hills Management. I have read and reviewed your noticeably signed eviction document, and agree that the perceived facts seem concerning. However, the lack of due process in this case and the fact that this is the second home invasion in 6 months leads me to believe that the true facts of the matter can be resolved strictly by reviewing the unedited footage of the firefighters and police body cameras from forced entry to kidnapping without due process to involuntary imprisonment. Please consider these bodies of evidence before making any further reckless accusaciones. George R. Hoyt 2,533,015,421 Room 1416. To Wellbound Doc Unit. I understand that due to a lack of my medication, I was admitted into involuntary care at Wellbound Hospital. After weeks of treatment, I am feeling fine, and want to be discharged as soon as possible. Things I need: my food stamp card, my Apple insurance card, social security card, and a bus pass. Spanish Hills living conditions should know a plan where meds can be delivered to my door. These are my requests, and I'm asking to be relieved from custody immediately. Thank you, Gr. Hoyt. To Tom Horton. I am hoping for a temporary discharge as soon as possible, as I need to pack up my belongings and put them in storage since I have now been evicted due to the lies and half-truths of the police and fire department. Judge and Mr. Josh Cook. I went out today to take of my business. My eviction is due on the 8th of July. I have a lot of packing to do. To Maxine Mims. In the event that I cannot hold on to my mother's works of art, I give them to Maxine Mims and Carol Mitchell, who have proven to me that they are most capable of using their mysterious powers responsibly. To my SW, I would like to set up my EBT card and Medicaid card as soon as possible. Thank you. To Mark Anthony Urban / Chavez. I am writing to request a copy of the transcript and any video / audio of my trial for my personal archive. I am also requesting an appeal on this decision, as it is my estimation that mens rea and foul play have been involved. I am also requesting the other 2 court appearances transcript/audio/video done in November-December 2022 at Multicare Hospital. To Dr. Hoa, Dr. Emily Robinson of Ellenmore. Dr. Hoa was the one who signed my beloved mother's death certificate. At the time, so much madness was going around me that I never got to say goodbye to my mother, Anastasia Armourer. I would like all documents, video and audio, and what was done to save her life, and her final moments, immediately. To Dr. Emily Robinson. Whether strictly liable or negligent, your steroid injection was the catalyst that made my mom's inflammation spread so fast around her body she was unable to move. This matter is far from legally settled between us. To Angela Naylor, CEO, Chris Ray-Kinas, CFO, Brian Neal MD, CMO, Ryamian Service, CCO, Crystal Edwards, Director of Utilation Management. We the inmonts both voluntary and involuntarily, by way of expectation under constitutional law, and just plain human ethics, have certain demands that we want to see happen here at AUDIOBOOK Hospital. We want access to internet and email facility for the patients. We want a room provided for exercise equipment. We find it ridiculous to be constantly fed and not be able to work off calories contributing to poor health. We want the right to refuse any medication that would destroy or change sexual energy or orientation, to be charged with a crime before a crime is committed is illegal at worst, and unethical at best. We want complete access to the local and global news. The excuse of trigger to keep us isolated from the outside world is unacceptable. Those that don't want to see the news always have the power to leave the room. Only the universe or the Most High gives or grants rights. Rights are a manner of ownership. We, as living entities, as the sole owners of our purpose and our journey. Therefore, we humble challenge whether our rights can be diminished or taken away under any circumstance. Rights can only be imposed by a corrupt government that has tread over the Bill of Rights, and now threaten the belief of rule of law here in America. Sincerely yours. Chattel named George R. Hoy Jr., Acutal named Dismas Emmanuel Armourer. Dear Wellfound, I am making a few requests concerning my situation here at Wellfound, and would like to be pointed in the right directions to those who could help me. The true nature of my illness, I would like to speak to my provider and perhaps see their files concerning my treatment for said illness. I would like a copy of the fire department and police report, including unedited body camera footage of both for my personal discovery and defense testimony. I would like multi-care involuntary administration, no due process, of my person in November of 2022. Paperwork files and all audio/video conflict footage for my personal discovery for my archives. I also request all conflict footage audio/video from Wellfound along with all court transcripts for my archives for discovery and defense testimony. I will be requesting from Multicare all files and footage of the death of my mother, Anastasia Armourer, as her HCA and only son. In short, I will be seeking to countersue for all rights diminished or